Hey, this is Josh for Retooled.net, and in this video I wanted to talk about the new workflow between SpeedGrade and Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, unfortunately, this workflow hasn't changed as much as I would like. I'd like something where you could just bounce the shots from one program to the other. Unfortunately, the old workflow is still somewhat in place, so let me show you what I mean. I'll click on my edit here, and I'll just go to File, Send to Adobe SpeedGrade. And what that would do is it would create DPX sequences of each shot, and also create a SpeedGrade project file that would bring that over. Of course, the other option is to just export an EDL of your cut and then relink it in SpeedGrade to your media. And that's actually the approach that I took. So that way there's no new media that you have to render out, and it's actually a little bit quicker of a back and forth. The only caveat is SpeedGrade doesn't support every format that Premiere does. So I happen to be working with ProRes media, so I know it's supported. And basically I just have a dummy edit here of some stock footage of England. So if you take a look, here's some clips. And basically what I did was I exported an EDL and I relinked that in SpeedGrade. So I won't get too far into that workflow now because it's basically the same as it was in CS6. So here I just created a basic look for this shot. So I basically just took the bleach bypass setup here, turn the opacity down a bit to 75%, and then if I shut off my primary, you'll see it's really blowing out my highlights. So in my primary, I just took the highlights down a bit so it wasn't quite as blown out by the bleach bypass. So that's basically a nice subtle look that gives a bit of style to this footage. So what I can now do is come over here and save out this look setting. And that has a number of reasons. One, I can use it to apply to other shots. So I'll call this shot 1. So then I'll just come on over to shot 2, and then I could apply the same basic look just by double clicking on that, and it'll load the same look to this file. But let's make it a little bit different. I'll add a little bit of a coolness to the midtones here and just do something like that. And then I could save this one out. I'll just call this shot 2. Then we'll come over to the third shot, and I'll just start with shot 1's grade again. And then we'll just tweak it a little bit. I'll just make this one a little bit warmer. And then I'll just crush the blacks a little bit to make it a bit more contrasty. So you can see I have 3 basic looks. I'll just save out this third one, call this shot 3. So in CS6, what I would have had to have done here is actually rendered out this footage and brought out the new renders into Premiere. So I'd have a whole different set of media I'd have to deal with. The great new thing about the new versions of Premiere and SpeedGrade is they can actually work together in a new way. So while getting the footage from Premiere to SpeedGrade is the same as it used to be, there's a new great option to get it from SpeedGrade back into Premiere. So if I tab over to Premiere, I could do this a nice new easy way. I'm only going to do the first 3 shots just to illustrate my point. So if I go over to Effects, I'm just going to type in the word Lumetri, and if I drag that effect onto a clip, it'll pop up a little dialog box. Now, I've already navigated to the folder where I saved out those grades, so if I just select them, I'll choose shot 1, and I'll do the same thing on shot 2. I'll just select shot 2, then double click on the effect, choose the shot 2 look, and then I'll come on over to shot 3, select it, and do the same thing with the shot 3 look. And now you'll notice I have all 3 of my looks, and I could just come in here and start playing them back without ever having rendered my footage. This makes it a lot easier to go between the 2 programs, and I could get the exact same look because they're using the same rendering engine to render the color correction. So let's say I want to change shot 2 and I want to do something where it's not quite as cool anymore. I could come over to shot 2, and I could tweak my look. Let's just do something quite different, and I'm gonna make it really warm now, just to illustrate my point, and then I will save that out, and I'll call that shot 2 revised. And then all I have to do is go back into Premiere, select the Lumetri effect, and then just reload my setting to the revised setting, and there it is, no rendering. And then I could just come in here, and again I could just start playing down my footage without ever having rendered anything, playing at full resolution, and this is 1920 by 1080 ProRes footage. As you can see, it's a really great back and forth. I wish it was a little easier to get the timeline from Premiere over to SpeedGrade, but getting the looks back from SpeedGrade to Premiere has been made a lot easier in the new versions.